Another quarterback, he's not going to get benched, but he is struggling, and the team more so is struggling than he, and that is you have Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick for the Chicago Bears, and a Hall of Fame quarterback who I think is spectacular on television, has been great his whole television career, Troy Aikman. He had something to say about what he has seen from Caleb Williams.
What you worry about, Joe, for a young quarterback, and I went through it. I was 0-11 as a starter, and he's had a much better rookie season than I had. Here's another look at the end of that, the hit that he took. And when you mentioned we were watching him on the sidelines, he was grimacing in an enormous amount of pain. And as I watch him, you can tell that he's a defeated guy. I mentioned that he hasn't been through anything like this at any point in his career.
He is a defeated guy. And a lot of people, Rob, will look at his body language and say, "Oh man, I don't like it." Look at him, and he does have bad language. He's not an Andrew Luck. Rah. Come on, guys, don't worry about it. We're gonna get back. We're staying in this game. Come on. He's not that kind of guy. He wears it on his sleeve. You can see when he's disappointed. You can even see if like the defense lets the other team score, make a big play, and he'll be on the bench. Like, come on. And I think a challenge for him, Rob, is gonna be that for the first time in his life, he's not the best player. If you know his story, I had to do an extended thing for him on the LA Times Today show that I do, like deep dive into his background. His father and him have masterminded this whole thing when he was a kid. This wasn't just, "Oh, you're good with football. Oh, wow, I didn't even know we're going to be here." Like they masterminded this, how he would interviewed, where he would go and how he would play and extra practices and all of that. They mastermind this, and he'd always been better than the people. And think about that, man. When you're better than people at Pop Warner, high school, you go to Oklahoma, ball out, go to USC, ball out, get a Heisman. It's a rude awakening when you get to the NFL and all them players you were playing in college, 90-something% of them ain't going to the league, Rob. You're going to go up against the best of the best of the best, and as fast as you are athletic, that lineman is almost as athletic if not more in some cases. That linebacker can keep up with you. And that separation between DBs and your receivers, it shrinks. And I think he's having a rude awakening to that. But I do think he'll be able to bounce back because the talent is there. He's had spectacular plays. He's had some really good games. And I do think he's fallen in love with the idea that he hasn't thrown an interception in 220-plus pass attempts. And I'm wondering if he's starting to fall in love with that without letting that thing – because sometimes he sits on it too long. You got to let that thing go. But my last point is he's going to be a hot cookie for the league to kind of deal with in the sense that you're used to a quarterback seeing – Jalen Hurts, very diplomatic. Dak Prescott, very diplomatic. You get all these other guys, very diplomatic, just how they are. Josh Allen, know how to. He's a little different. He's a little emo. He's the first emo quarterback. Paints his nails, wants to go home and be with his dog. He cries at the USC big game. He cried. Everybody ran and cried with his mama. Like, he's a little different. And I think people are going to have to get used to that. But I think he's going to be able to bounce back. It's just, man, the Bears, that organization continues to fail their quarterbacks historically.
I just think it's an over evaluation, and this is what we do: is we try to over evaluate it. Troy Aikman talked about it. He didn't have a great offensive line. He went 0-11. Guess what they did? They became a dynasty and won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. Get him some protection in the offensive line. Let him be who he is. It ain't that I don't want to make it like it's some grand plan or you got to figure it out and it's all in his head or whatever. He needs protection. He needs protection. They got weapons, but it doesn't matter who you are as a quarterback. If you don't have enough time to set up a play and deliver the ball, I don't care. I've seen it. But Peyton Manning was terrible his rookie year. He threw 1 million interceptions. Nobody was like, "Oh, yeah, he's defeated." I don't know if he. Dude, the guy went on to win 5 MVPs.
And it happened. Yeah, it happened fast.
Okay, and then you have the other quarterbacks. I bring up Ryan Leaf. Oh, he's prototypical, 6'4" and broad shoulder. He was terrible.
He was.
Right? I mean, so the idea. Yes, you're right. He is not he's a new breed of quarterback. But it didn't stop the Bears from drafting him first overall because he paints his nails or he likes his dog or he cries like everybody else. So what if he did it in public? Other guys on the team or great players never cried? I mean, we get caught up with that stuff because he doesn't have to go hide it when other people, if some other player cried to his mom or went to his mom and had a cry and we didn't see it, would it be an issue? But he still did it, and he still went out and got to play. Is what I'm saying.
Winning cures all. And everything that he could be quirky or a little different will turn into a cool thing if he's winning, right? If he's winning, it's like, man, look at him. He shows his emotion. He's winning. He just wants more from his teammates. You know, Tom Brady could yell at his team and do all that because it was Tom Brady and he was winning. He can have those emotional meltdowns.
And if anybody else, then it's like, he's a diva. He's this, he's that.
So Caleb Williams, once he starts winning and turn this thing around, I think a lot of that will change. But he's had it. Listen, all things considered, and Troy Aikman mentioned it, he's had a heck of a season. 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And about 3-4 games they were in, if some fluky things happened. The Hail Mary.
There were 3 games that turned their season
the missed
around.
Kick.
Yes.
If his coach calls a timeout against the Lions,
you don't know what would have happened in that game.
They go into overtime and maybe they win it later. And you mentioned Peyton Manning. Look at this. Peyton Manning was 3-13 his first year. Guess how many interceptions he threw?
25. He was terrible.
He threw 26 touchdowns
and how
with
many?
28 interceptions.
I told you that.
I'm telling you. Guess what he did? He was 3-13. Guess what he was the next year, Rob? 13-3.
Yes.
And so if he's as much of a transformative talent as everybody's been telling me for 2 or 3 years, then I think he'll be okay. If he is the one, the next Andrew Luck, the best talent, best prospect since then, I think he'll be okay. Because y'all know who y'all keep telling me is going to be okay? Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence doesn't look as good as Caleb has at times. You know who y'all keep trying to sell me on? Trevor Lawrence getting a huge bag, making $40-something million a year. Trevor Lawrence rookie year was worse than this. Trevor Lawrence hasn't really had any good years, but one decent one, and he won a postseason game. So there's a bunch of quarterbacks that keep getting the benefit of the doubt. I think Caleb Williams has earned that thus far. The way he's played, the way you see the talent jump out on the film. And again, he's got some learning pains, some growing pains, some things he needs to learn. I think he holds the ball too long. I think he, scared to let it go sometimes. He'll get better than that. They got the weapons. Now they got to get the right coach if it's going to be this guy, if it's going to be another. And they got to start continuing to find an identity. And as you mentioned, get that man a line. My gosh.